It's vitally important that you are able to get traffic, people that you don't know, to your marketing offers and into your database so that you have an opportunity to inform, motivate, and inspire them to work with you. In this video, we're going to go over 3 of the 6 M's of marketing. So get ready to take some notes because you're going to learn a lot. Hey everybody, this is Ray Stendel, publisher of Customer Engagement Magazine and the author of the Customer Engagement Manifesto. Welcome to this video within our training sequence. In this video, what I want to do with you is go over 3 of the 6 M's of marketing and make sure that you're able to take a few talking points and action points away from this video so that you can apply them together with the report that you already have in your possession. So let's get started. The first M is all about your market. Now, I know you may have heard of this before. You have to be really clear on who it is that you want to serve, but I really want to emphasize this point for you. Being able to understand who you want to serve and be able to describe them and pick them out within a crowded room is very important to you. If you're not able to identify who is in your market, and more importantly, who is not in your market, your message will not be able to fit properly and will seem like you're trying to talk to everybody. So as part of this process, there's really 2 sides to the equation. First, being able to recognize people based on characteristics that you can identify or their demographics, and 2, the emotional factors of your marketplace. So let's get started. On the physical side, you should be able to identify the basics: their age, their sex, their nationality, their educational background, how much money they make, where they live, what kind of car they drive, what kind of house they live in. These are all factors that you should be able to articulate, and I encourage you to write them down. In addition to this, you also want to explore other aspects that are directly observable. For example, you can take a look at their education and their comfort level with what it is that you sell. Are they new to the solution area that you offer, or are they experts in the field of what it is that you provide? The next side of this equation is to take a look at the emotional side of their personality. Remember, human beings make emotional decisions and they back them up based on logic. So when we take a look at the emotional side, we can break that down further into 2 components: the positive factors and the negative factors. Let's take a look at the negative factors, or more of the dark side of marketing, to begin with. Why? Because people have been shown over and over again to respond to moving away from something as being a higher motivator than moving towards something that they want. And as an example, are you more likely to go to a dentist when you have a really bad toothache, or are you more likely to go to a chiropractor to get your regular adjustment? I'm not trying to knock chiropractors, but the truth of the matter is that if you have a pain in your side or your mouth, you're likely to want to solve that quicker, faster, and easier than if you have something which is perceived to be not a major pain point. So when we take a look at the emotional side of your marketplace, I want you to take a look at factors such as, what is it that gives your market pain? What are they fearful of? What do they have anxiety about? What are they frustrated by? What are some of the key frustrations that they experience in their regular day? Being able to identify these frustrations from an emotional standpoint is really, really important. In addition to this, I want you to take a look at what strategies have they tried in the past but didn't work, and what have they tried in the past that did work. Now, as we start to take a look at this, and we can go a lot deeper, we can also now shift into the positive side. Where do they want to be in 1 year from now? What are they passionate about? What do they get excited about? What are some of their major beliefs that they have about how the world operates and how your solution fits into their bigger picture? Being able to understand both the positive and the negative side is really important so that you can articulate in a message, which we're going to talk about later, a compelling offer. Because if you have a disjoint message to market match, you're not going to go anywhere. So let's now move into the second M. The second M is all about your message. The message that you construct needs to be constructed in a way that shows your unique differentiation. If you sound like everybody else, you're not going to get much headway in the marketplace. You're just going to be another provider of solution X. So we have to identify what is most important to our market based on our previous analysis and articulate what it is that we do in a way that maps to that market's needs. One of the formulas I really like using is a really simple one. It is I help X do Y so they can Z. Another variant of this formula is I help X do Y without the pain of A so that they can enjoy the benefit of Z. You might want to rewind the video at this point and make sure you capture this key point, because you see, everybody is very much focused on what's in it for me. And when you are articulating a message, you need to be able to say, I help X, fill in the blank. Who is it that you help? Do you help small business people? Do you help large corporations? Who do you help? I help X do Y. What's the result that you're able to demonstrate and deliver to your customer? Remember, people pay for results. They pay for a transformation. So I help X do Y so they can Z. Z is the benefit, the ultimate benefit of the transformation that you offer to them, the reason why they invested their money with you. So that gives rise to this next question. What is it that you ultimately sell? For example, if you sell high-end sports cars, you're not just selling a big V8 engine, you're selling the experience of going from 0 to 60 very quickly on an on-ramp with the wind in your hair. How do I know? I love sports cars. That's why I bought mine. If we go back to my equation here and I said without a factor, the without is being able to show that they can get a result without a lot of pain and frustration. So you might say something like, let's suppose you're an accountant. You say something like this: I help small business owners formulate tax strategies without the pain of having to go through every invoice so that they can maximize their return and put that money back into their business. Do you see how we were able to pull together those 4 factors and how that sounds a lot more compelling than saying, yeah, I'm an accountant and I help small businesses? What does that really mean? It doesn't mean anything. That's why the way in which you articulate your message is so important. Okay, let's jump over to the third M of the 6M framework. The third M is media. The media you use is the vehicle by which you communicate your message to your market. In this case, I'm using video. You can be using a variety of other mechanisms to get your message to your marketplace, and you also need to make sure you have a response mechanism. Let me see if I can give you a few examples. Let's suppose that you, for your marketplace, are able to get results with Yellow Pages. It's one example, and for some businesses it works very well. So in this case, the media is the Yellow Pages. The response mechanism is the 1-800 phone number or the direct phone number. In the case of using video, you might have a call to action at the end of a video which recommends that people get in touch with you through email, through a phone number, what have you. These are all response mechanisms that are tied to your media. Now, one of the things that leading people do in their marketing is that they test different forms of media. They don't depend on only one form of media. And number 2, they test different response mechanisms to see what works out and what doesn't. Remember, marketing is very much all about measurement and management so that we can predict the outcomes from our invested marketing dollar. You know the old expression, I spend a lot of money on marketing and I get 50% results from 50% of my marketing. I just don't know which 50%. Well, your job is to know what part is working for you and what's not. So here's what I want you to do at this point. You already have the report. You've already presumably studied the material I've just shared in this video. I hope this video has added a little bit more color, a little bit more perspective to what you already have. But what's most important for you to do right now is to take some action. If you don't take any action, this is just going to become a bunch of entertainment. And what I want you to do is not have it entertainment. I want it to be infotainment, enjoyable, but useful. So here's what I want you to do. Take out that pen and paper that I recommended to you in an earlier video. Take down some notes. What is it that you're going to be able to do to augment and make sure that you have a much clearer understanding of your market, your message, and what media do you plan to deploy in the next 90 days? If you follow my advice, I guarantee you, you're going to start to get some traction and some results. And in our next video, we're going to cover the next 3 M's of marketing. So I look forward to seeing you in the next video. This is Ray Stendel, signing off. Are you happy with the amount of traffic you're getting to your offers? This video can help. Hey everybody, this is Ray Stendel, publisher of Customer Engagement Magazine and the author of the Customer Engagement Manifesto. I hope you're enjoying the training that we've put together and are studying the report that you should have already downloaded. In the last video, we talked about 3 of the 6 M's of marketing. If you haven't seen that video, I recommend that you watch that one first before you watch this one. We talked about the message, the market, and the media. Now what we're going to do is talk about the next of the 3 M's for a total of 6 M's of marketing. So the next one that we're going to talk about right now is moment. So this might be a new idea for you here, and I want to encourage you to really take a hold of what I'm going to share, because the other 3 M's you may have heard of before, but probably not this one. So when we talk about moment, there's 2 things I want you to keep in mind. Number 1 is, what are the emotional moments you want to architect in your message and your sequence of messages? Remember, human beings are emotional creatures, so that we have to make sure that we are architecting emotional moments that are striking a chord with your audience. The second aspect relative to the idea of moment is, are you putting your message in front of your audience at the right moment? And the answer to that question is, you don't know when the right moment is. The right moment can only be determined by your audience. So the corollary to this idea is that you constantly need to be creating valuable content that helps your audience, so that when the moment is right, they will see you as a trusted authority that can help them make an informed buying decision. So right now, what I want you to do is to think carefully about how you can architect emotional moments that exceed the customer's expectation from your marketing process. How can you give a little bit more? How can you help them through various forms of content, whether it is written, audio, video? How can you move them from where they are to where they want to go just a little bit more than you normally would have done before watching this video series or looking at this report? The second thing I want you to think about is, what is your content production calendar? If you've already created a bunch of content, then you should ask yourself, am I fully utilizing the content I've created? How can it best be utilized and syndicated throughout the marketplace, leveraging your blog as a central repository, but using other mechanisms to share your content further than you already do today? Number 2, what are you planning to do in terms of new content that you can create? Any business that you are in has an opportunity to create content to help your customer make a more informed buying decision, especially if the nature of your business involves complexity or involves a lot of work on behalf of your customer. In both cases, there's an opportunity to not only motivate and instruct, but inspire them on their journey. Remember that. That's how you can differentiate from your competition. While your competition is saying, come to me, buy from me, buy my stuff, you're saying, let me help you get to where you need to go, because I understand you and you need to consider X, Y, and Z in your journey, and I can help you with this portion. It shows that you are providing a total solution and understand the big picture, and your market's going to walk away saying, you know, I get it. So that was a lot on the topic of moment. Let's talk about memorable. Memorable is the next M of the sequence. So let me ask you something. Is your marketing memorable? Or are you making the mistake of being boring? I really hope you're not. Part of being memorable is through communicating from the heart, speaking to your audience on the same level and really helping them to get to where they want to get to. But also you need to think of fun things that you can add to your marketing that surprises them a little bit. Your message needs to stand out. If it just stands out, if it doesn't stand out, pardon me, and it sounds like everybody else, you're just going to be another Me Too marketer. And you don't want that. Part of the way you can accomplish this is focusing on, one, your copywriting, the way in which you communicate. And one of the things that no one can duplicate is your personality. Show your personality in your video. Show your personality in your written word. Don't be afraid to show a little bit about who you are and a little bit about your life. That's how people can relate to you on a human level. Be willing to show some of your weaknesses. Be authentic. Be transparent. Leverage your story. Your story is one of the most powerful things you have that you can use in your marketing. Remember, people buy from people, not from robots. Also, use a mix in your media. Don't be one-dimensional. If you really like video, break it up and have some blog posts without video. If you are only into writing, consider how you can show some personality in video, because video is the most engaging form of media. So now the last M that I want to talk about in this video is momentum. You need to constantly be driving your marketing machine to build and maintain momentum. This means the process of identifying and nurturing and connecting with prospects is a never-ending process. You don't just get to stop and ride on the coattails of your past success. No, you can't do that. One of the things we talk about in the special report is a lead capture mechanism. I call it an LCM for short. And one of the things that I see many businesses guilty of, and they make this mistake all the time, is they're not capturing contact information on their websites. They don't have a means by which to build a list. They may speak to groups of audiences, they may have a pretty good website, but they don't have anything to offer that can build their list, that they can build a relationship with the people they're connected to. That's a really big mistake. Go ahead, take a look at your website and ask yourself, how am I able to capture leads from prospects that I can build a relationship with, and how am I building a relationship through valuable content? Remember, just capturing names and email addresses and phone numbers and expecting to have a conversation with somebody right away is a pipe dream in most cases, okay? Unless you're perhaps a plumber and you're solving a problem of a leaky faucet in the middle of the night which is causing massive damage, you should expect that you're going to need to invest in building a relationship online or through other mechanisms before you have somebody willing to talk to you. And as part of this, you got to really ask yourself, what kind of community am I building? And how am I adding value to my community such that they see you as the leader of that community and somebody worth listening to, somebody worth opening emails from and watching videos and being educated and inspired from. That's your job. So I want you to really think about what your strategy is around momentum and how you're going to bring momentum back into your business. Now, in addition to this, we can start to think about different kinds of traffic. Now, there's a lot that we can cover here, so I want to just kind of show you that there's different levels of traffic. We call it hot traffic versus cold traffic. Hot traffic is traffic of prospects that are coming to you who are already predisposed to work with you, versus cold traffic that has no idea that you exist. You have built no authority in front of them. You have no credibility in front of them. So when we look at hot traffic, I want you to consider examples of it are positive reviews on review sites, recommendations from colleagues or friends that are telling people to connect with you because they already had a great experience working with you. Make sure you reward the sources of this hot traffic so that they can send you more hot traffic. Really, one of the most important forms of marketing is referral marketing, and referral traffic is hot traffic. The next kind of traffic we can look at is warm traffic. Now, warm traffic isn't as good as hot traffic, but it's still pretty good. This is traffic that's coming from other sources that have some experience in working with you. Maybe it's traffic coming from reading an article or a video. If you came across this video somehow, this would be considered warm traffic because you are getting value out of the communication I'm sharing with you, and you are more predisposed to talk to me than if you just, for example, saw an advertisement in the yellow pages, for example, where there was no value being communicated. So there is cold traffic, hot traffic, warm traffic. Let me tell you a little bit about cold traffic. Cold traffic is traffic that has no real context for who you are and the value you provide in the marketplace. So for example, if somebody just does a Google search and comes across an ad that you placed in AdWords as an example, that's cold traffic. If you purchase a list of prospects and you mail to them, that's cold traffic. They have really no idea who you are. Ultimately, you have zero credibility with them. It's the most highly skeptical audience of the three. So that's it, guys. Why don't you take down these notes? See here, I'm asking you a question. It's a call to action. I'm selling you on the idea of taking action. Every video has a job to do, as I've often said. Take action based on what we've talked about here. Study the report, implement it today, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. If you need any help, just let us know. We'll be happy to help you out. Thank you. This is Ray Stendal. Without an operationalized nurture campaign, you will never, ever get enough marketing conversion. Hey everybody, this is Ray Stendal, publisher of Customer Engagement Magazine and the author of the Customer Engagement Manifesto. Hey, thanks so much for being part of this video series with me. I hope you're enjoying the special report that you downloaded a few days ago and are watching these videos and most importantly, really taking some action. So in this video, I want to talk to you a little bit about marketing conversion. You see, marketing conversion is all about moving somebody who has no idea that you exist or a foggy idea of what you do, all the way to the point that they are willing to entertain a conversation with you and enter into the sales process to be able to purchase a solution from you to solve their needs. Now, what that means is that you want to get them into conversation with you where you have already been able to tell your story and qualify them to a certain extent because they already know who you are, what you do, what you're about. They already are comfortable with how you do business to a certain degree. Now, it's important to realize that there are certain reasons why someone will not buy from you. One of the reasons why somebody will not buy from you is that they don't want what it is that you have. And if they don't want it, there's not really a whole lot you can do other than being able to do your best to showcase what it is that you do, how it solves a set of problems in the marketplace that they may or may not have. Now, if they don't have those needs, then they're not right for you, then that's just totally cool. That's fine. The next reason why somebody will not buy from you is they don't need it. It's perceived as something that is nice to have, but is not something that they need right now. The next thing that you need to consider is that just because they don't need it now, that doesn't mean they won't need it in the future. That's why it's so important to maintain a relationship and add value and be present. The next reason why somebody won't do business with your company is they don't trust your company. Think about that. If they don't trust your company, they're not going to do business with you. So part of your process must be to showcase and demonstrate trust with your company. The other reason they don't buy is they don't trust you. They may trust your company, but they don't trust you. And finally, they don't trust the product offering. So let me give you an example of how this can really work in reality. Let's suppose that you are in the business of selling cars and selling transportation solutions. Notice I said transportation solutions. Smart dealerships take a bigger view of the whole idea of transportation. They don't just sell a car. But anyway, let's get back on track here. If you don't want a new car and a dealer does their best to explain to you the benefits of having a new car that solves a certain set of problems, and maybe it's more efficient on gas, maybe it's going to save you less time, money, and energy in fixing your car, etc. But that still doesn't get you to want it. Well, there's not much you can do. Maybe one day your car will be so bad, in need of repairs and you'll want a car, and then you will think about who you think is somebody you want to do business with. Or you don't need a car. You have a car. The car works great, and you don't want a payment, and you're just happy with what you have. You don't really need one right now. So fine, you don't go forward. Now look at this. Let's suppose that you're left with the 3 other reasons why you're not going to purchase. You don't trust the company, they don't trust the person, or you don't trust the product. So let's suppose that you're dealing with a car manufacturer. Let's suppose we're dealing with, pick your least favorite car manufacturer. You got one in your mind? It's a company that you really just don't trust that very much? Okay, well, if you don't trust that company, even though they might have a great sales rep and they might have a pretty good product, you just don't trust that company. Are you going to buy? Nope. What happens if you trust the company, but when you get there, you have a sales rep that is really pushy and just like trying to get you to buy on the spot? Are you going to buy? No. What happens if you have a great company, a great sales rep, but that product has got terrible Consumer Reports ratings? Are you going to buy? No, you're not. You know, many times people think that price is a big factor for why people don't buy. And I'm not going to say it isn't. Sometimes it is, but it's more because you're selling price and not on value. When you sell on value, and the value that you provide exceeds the price for the quality level that the customer is interested in purchasing at, provided the other factors I've just talked about make sense, they're going to purchase. So I want you to kind of keep these reasons in mind, because part of what you need to do in a nurture campaign is sell yourself, sell your company, sell the solution you provide to an audience that needs and wants what you have and is qualified to make a purchase. That last section might be worth replaying again, because that is really a big part of what nurture campaigns are all about. Nurture, as the name implies, is nurturing your prospect, helping them understand a little bit more about how you can help them. It's the same way that you nurture a plant. You provide water and sunlight and fertilizer, and a little seed grows into a big tree, right? Same kind of idea. So here's the call to action I want you to keep in mind here is, how are you architecting value in your marketing campaigns? How are you leaving your prospect in a better position than the way you found them? Very, very important. If you are not adding value in the marketing campaign as it stands on its own, you're wasting your time. You're wasting your time in the customer engagement economy. Trust me, hear my message. A marketing campaign is not just putting out a marketing message, an advertiser somewhere. It's adding value. Please write that down. Adding value. So I want you to think about how you can do this with your audience. And now let's suppose that somebody comes to your website or is watching your video and they leave because it's not a real fit. They're like, you know what? This guy or gal is providing a solution that doesn't really fit with what I need. And they unsubscribe from your list, or they don't watch your video. You know, that's okay. You can't help everybody. And by them self-selecting themselves out of your process, it's great, because now you can focus on the people who are a good fit. So don't get discouraged if people opt out of your list. Don't worry about it. It happens to everybody. Your job must be about targeting people so well that you reduce your opt-out rates, because you are targeting the right people who care about what it is you talk about. Number 2, if they don't respond, you might get frustrated, like, hey, I'm putting out all this great content, I'm really investing in my audience and helping them make qualified decisions, but they're not responding. Well, you have to realize the great majority of people won't respond. That's just a fact of life. But not responding doesn't mean they will never become customers, just not now. Maybe the timing is not right. But everything else being equal, they will become your customer in the future, because you will have built a relationship with them. Now, they can leave, they cannot respond, or they can engage. And if they engage, this is really where everything comes together, because they're engaging with you because what you're sharing with them is resonating. That's another key word you might want to write down. So your job is to understand the buying process and model your sales process to your customer's buying process and give them the tools and the information and the encouragement and the inspiration, yes, and the motivation throughout the process. And you might say to yourself, yes, Ray, but I'm not some type of professional speaker. I'm not in the role of having to push and motivate. Yes, you are. In sales, we are all in sales, number one. Number two, we all need to motivate, instruct, and inspire our audience, our prospects. Don't give up on that idea, all right? There isn't a department in your company that's responsible for this. We are all responsible for this. And ultimately, your goal really should be to leave them in a better position than you found them. Because if they're not necessarily the right fit for you now, they might also just recommend somebody else who is the right fit for you. So these are the key ideas I wanted to share with you as it relates to a nurture campaign. You need to think about, and I'm going to give you one more key tip here. You need to think about the pathway from where they are to where they need to get to, what that transformation is. Map out the steps to get there. So let's suppose you're in the real estate business and you sell commercial buildings. You have to go from somebody who, let's say, never bought a commercial building before, all the way to signing the purchasing agreement. Well, what are the steps to go through, and how can you provide focused content along the way to ease their stress? The more you can reduce their stress, the more you can increase their engagement, the more you can connect with your audience. That's what you're trying to do. And as you do that, you're going to create content that is logical and sequential in nature that helps them go down this avenue with you. So that's what nurture campaigns are all about. If you don't have any of these campaigns in place, I can guarantee you, you're leaving buckets and buckets of money on the table, quite literally. So now's the time for you to think about how you can do it. And I can't tell you how many companies I come across that do not have well thought out nurture campaigns that add value. So this is Ray Stendal. I hope you enjoyed this video and this report that we provide. We're working very hard for you to give you a lot of value through this process. I hope you see that, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video where we go a little bit further in the process of how to acquire and retain customers in a profitable manner. Thanks so much. Fine-tune the sales process to match your buyer's process, and you will have exponential impacts on the revenue you generate. Hey everybody, this is Ray Stendal, publisher of Customer Engagement Magazine and the author of the Customer Engagement Manifesto and a variety of special reports. Thanks so much for watching this video in our training sequence all about how you go about acquiring and retaining customers in a profitable manner. So in this video, what we're going to talk about is sales conversion. So you've gone through the process, you have acquired a marketing lead, somebody who knows what you do, is confident that you have the ability to solve their problem, and is now entering into the sales dance with you. Now, the problem here is they're entering into the dance, but the problem is that they're not finishing the dance with you into a sales conversion or a confirmation of the sales process that you want to move forward and sealing the deal, so to speak. So let's take things back to basics. Sales conversion is a result of a highly organized sales process. It begins with a well-qualified marketing lead, which we've been talking about so far. It ends with a transaction which confirms that the customer is happy with what it is that you do and wants to move forward. So the first thing I said in this last 30 seconds or so is that it's a well-organized sales process. In order to be well organized, it should be documented. In order to document it, you need to think about all the steps you go through to work with somebody who has an idea of what you do in terms of their being qualified through the process where they ultimately are willing to give you their money in exchange for the value you're going to provide. So that being said, I want you to stop thinking about selling from a traditional standpoint. I want you to think in terms of buying, putting yourself in the shoes of your prospect, of your customer, and analyzing the buying process. What is the buying process that somebody needs to go through to feel comfortable to make a purchase? Once you painfully, I say the word painfully, it's not really painfully, I mean in detail. Once you go through this process in detail and identify every step that the buyer must go through, I want you to then map it to what is the corresponding sales process to map to that buying process. Now, if this sounds like a whole lot of process, blah, blah, blah to you, you're getting the wrong impression. You have to realize the buying process and the selling process need to come together. If the customer buys this way and you sell this way, there's no merger. So the goal here is to say, this is what my customer needs to feel comfortable, go to the next step, and this is what I need to provide. And you have to provide it in the way in which the customer wants to consume it. So now, as you go through the sales process, it's important that you track the results of your sales process. If X number of leads entered your funnel, and Y being less than X, go to step 2, and Z being less than Y, go to step 3, if you understand the relationship and the ratio between each of these steps, sooner or later you're going to come to the understanding that some parts of your process you're better at and some parts of your process you're not as good at. And that's precisely where you need to focus. Many companies don't take the time to really analyze their ratios, and then they don't know where to go ahead and improve themselves. So when we think about conversion, you also have to think about asking for the deal. Now, you can only ask for the deal if you are very sure that you've earned the right to ask. Does the customer implicitly trust you? Do they trust your product or solution? Do they trust your company? Do they consider you to be highly intelligent and very sharp? Do they view you to have integrity and trust? If you can't answer yes to all of those questions, now is not the right time to ask for the deal. So you got to keep circling back, making sure that all of these points that I just mentioned are in alignment. They trust you, they trust your solution, they trust your company. They view you as a person of an integrity, somebody who is trustworthy, somebody who is sharp, and I would also add energetic and willing to go the extra mile to make sure value is transferred from you to them. Once you get to that point, the next thing you need to do is have the confidence to ask for the deal. Now, a lot of people in this industry write books and books and books on the subject of closing the deal, which, by the way, I hate that expression. I prefer the expression confirming the deal or gaining a sales confirmation, which is one of the things that my friend Jim Cathcart so eloquently talks about in his book about relationship selling. Anyhow, it's as simple as simply saying, would you like me to help you implement this? Or why don't you give us a try? A simple question that prompts the user, or in this case the audience member or the customer or the prospect, to go to the next step with you. It's nothing manipulative. It's simply the natural progression of a well-architected sales and marketing process where the customer feels confident that you have the ability to solve their problem with your solution. So that's what I want you to do. I want you to stand up and look in the mirror and just say that expression. Would you like me to help you implement it? Would you like to, why don't you give it a try? Simple expressions like that. It doesn't need to be more complex than that. But make sure you only ask those questions when you have the confidence that you earned the right to ask those questions, where it is the next logical progression of your process. So that's it, guys. Why don't you take down these notes? See here, I'm asking you a question. It's a call to action. I'm selling you on the idea of taking action. Every video has a job to do, as I've often said. Take action based on what we've talked about here. Study the report, implement it today, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. If you need any help, just let us know. We'll be happy to help you out. Thank you. This is Ray Stendal. Hey everybody, this is Ray Stendel. Thanks so much for watching this video series. So far in our video series, we've been tackling challenges related to the first part of the equation, which is how to acquire customers. Now what we're going to do is talk about profitability. How do we actually take those customers that we have brought on board, that have said yes to our offers, and make sure that we're operating in a profitable manner? You have the report that was provided earlier on, and I hope that you've studied it. But if you haven't, I really want to draw your attention to this section about profitability, because that's what we're going to cover in the next sequence of videos. And in this video, what we're specifically going to talk about is all about transaction frequency. So really, here's the question for you. Is the transaction frequency that you have with your customers where you want it? And I'm guessing that the answer to that question is no. So for those of you that don't know or just came across this video somehow, my name is Ray Stendel. I'm the publisher of Customer Engagement Magazine, and I'm also the author of the Customer Engagement Manifesto. So in this video, we're going to talk all about transaction frequency. And if you are not happy with the frequency with which your customers purchase from you, I have a few questions for you to think about. So the first question is this: how often do I communicate with my customer base? Think about all the different ways in which you communicate and ask yourself, how often do you do so? And when you communicate, do you communicate in a way where you are an invited guest in the communication? Or are you just a rotten pest looking for more money to be spent by your customers for your offering? Really, that's the honest question. Do they look forward to your communication? Would be my next question that you should be asking yourself. So along this idea of being an invited guest, you should ask yourself this question: what kind of relevant content do you provide on a regular basis so that you are top of mind and that your customers are excited to engage with you? Really, that's the question. You cannot expect to get heat out of the fireplace unless you put some wood into the fireplace. Old expression, I know, from Mr. Earl Nightingale, but it's a great expression, and it's one that you have to really appreciate. It's all about the law of cause and effect. So what are you doing to communicate? How often do you communicate? What kind of quality of communication are you deploying? Now the next question: what kind of systems are you using to track your customers' preferences? Every customer has a set of preferences, a certain way they like to be treated. They have a certain buying history of things that they have purchased, things that have worked out well for them. You should have all of this information in a system so that you can communicate with relevant material that fits with what they have purchased in the past. So that's a key thing. Here's another question: how often do you do sales promotions? I mean real sales promotions, where there is a difference in price between what you really sell it for and what you're doing in this promotion. Going in to a sales conversation where you're saying, oh, it's 60% off, and that's the sale this week, and 3 weeks from now it's 50% off. I mean, it's always 50% off. That's not a real sales promotion. Give your customers an opportunity to do business with you, especially your very loyal customers, and reward them for that loyalty with even more value. Now, I'm not telling you to compete on price. No, no, no. I'm saying to use promotions strategically to keep momentum alive and keep the buying experience alive and keep the idea of them buying from you as more of a regular occurrence. So the next question you might want to ask yourself is, how do my offers support each other? In other words, as you stack your offers, are they complementary? Do they support each other in terms of being able to cross-sell? If somebody bought X, they might enjoy Y. If they bought Y, they might enjoy X. So if you're able to look at how you can more effectively cross-sell and to more intelligently package your offers together by providing more value in a way in which a customer is likely to want to purchase this way, I think that is definitely something that can help you. Another thing you might want to consider is some type of continuity program in which you are providing value on a regular monthly basis. That can be being part of a certain membership of some kind, whether you're selling content and information that can help them execute on the solution they have already purchased from you, or if they are consuming something that is a consumable and a tangible nature, being able to auto ship new product to them on a regular basis. This can help making sure that you maintain that transaction frequency by taking out of the equation having to actually remember, especially if this is something that the customer is happy to purchase on an ongoing basis. So I want you to remember these ideas and think about how you can apply them in your business today. Take some active notes, be actively involved in this learning process, and apply what you're learning as soon as possible. That's the whole idea here, guys, with this learning process. And just remember one thing here: your customers lead very busy lives. If you're not top of mind, you will be forgotten. And you have to constantly stay top of mind and be relevant. Not just top of mind, but be relevant in being top of mind. And that's going to help you increase your transaction frequency. So I hope this helped. This is Ray Stendal, and I look forward to seeing you in our next training session. Thanks so much. In the business world, size is everything. Hey everybody, this is Ray Stendal, publisher of Customer Engagement Magazine, the author of the Customer Engagement Manifesto, and a variety of various reports. So happy to have you with us. In this video, I want to talk to you about transaction size, because transaction size is so important to your profitability, and it's important that we think about how can we be able to increase transaction size at the same time be in integrity with our customers. So to help cement this idea, let's think about some common examples. How about the expression, "Do you want fries with that?" Where did you hear that? Well, hopefully you didn't hear it recently, because the food's not really that good. Sorry to say. However, McDonald's is the one that uses that expression, right? So, "Do you want fries with that?" is a way in which McDonald's is increasing transaction size. Or would you like large or medium fries? Again, similar kind of example. "Do you want to supersize that? Get the value meal." See, these are all examples of increasing the transaction size. And what I want you to think about now is before and after the main offer. So you have the main offer of what it is that you sell. Before the main offer, is there a way in which you can add a bonus on top? For example, the deluxe version of the main offer. That's before you've even sold the main offer. You're offering them an opportunity to get the deluxe version. Then the second thing is after the main offer, is there anything else that you can add to the main offer that makes the main offer more attractive? So again, the two key questions are, what can I add before the main offer that is maybe a deluxe version of the main offer? And then the second question is, what can I add after the main offer that makes the main offer more attractive? So these are basically upsells in terms of pre-transaction and post-transaction upsells that are intended to add more value to the customer. It's a very, very important point. You have to be able to look at it this way. Otherwise, your customer is going to lose trust in you and think you're just trying to stuff the transaction size to make it as big as possible, to milk as much money out of the customer as possible. That's not what you want. What you're looking for is genuinely identifying opportunities to add value before and after the main transaction that the customer would appreciate. Very, very important. So then the next question I have for you is, we've been talking a little bit about the sales process, but let me ask you, if you make an offer to someone and they say no, do you have a subsequent offer you can provide that is maybe a little bit at a lower cost, or is a smaller offering that helps them get further down the road than where they are versus not buying anything at all, but is more attractive to them based on the reason for which they didn't go for the upsell opportunity. Maybe it was because it was too complex or too much time or too much money. You found a simpler way of offering something. Maybe it wasn't on continuity, it was a one-time purchase. These are different scenarios by which you can think about having an upsell. Really what it is the downsell. They didn't take your first opportunity, now you're offering a second opportunity at a lower price typically. So that's the question for you at this stage. So now I want you to think about, in terms of an action step for you to move forward, is I want you to realize that the best time to ask a customer to purchase is when they are already emotionally invested in making the primary purchase. That's very, very important, because you see, you spend a lot of time, money, and energy to go through a process to get somebody to be willing to take out their wallet to pay for something. And that's at the moment when you want to identify something very complementary that is very synergistic with what you just finished talking to them about. Now you have to make sure of a couple things. Number one, you have to make sure that the main offer that you are selling stands alone and adds a lot of value just on its own. Because if you are selling something which doesn't stand alone and all these things, you're adding this and this and this, it's kind of like the syndrome of, you know, buying everything at the car dealership where the steering wheel costs extra. You don't want that, okay? We're talking about complementary offerings where every offering stands alone, and it's intended to enhance the experience of the primary offering. The other key thing is only, please, 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 only make relevant offers to your customer that enhances the customer's experience. Otherwise, you're going to build a bad reputation, and quickly. And that's really what I got for you in this video. This video is all about looking at your transaction size. So you might want to take a step back and take a look at what is your average transaction size per customer. Take a look at the mix of what it is that you offer to them today. Take a look at what are some things that you can add to the transaction that adds more value pre and post main transaction, as well as looking at cross-selling and upselling and downsales if the upsells don't go through, to see if there are ways in which you can increase that transaction for each of your customers. But make sure you do it with integrity and you do it in a way that enhances the overall customer experience. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next video in this series. If you're not profitable, you won't be in business for long. Hey everybody, this is Ray Stendel, publisher of Customer Engagement Magazine and the author of the Customer Engagement Manifesto. Thanks so much for being part of our video series. I hope you're enjoying it as much as we are enjoying creating it for you. So in this video, what we're going to talk about is gross margin being too low. We've covered a lot of ground so far in terms of helping you acquire new customers. Now we're in the profitability phase of how do we become more profitable, and one of the factors we need to consider is gross margin. So what I want to do is, first let's define the term. The gross margin is really what it is that's left over after you pay all of the costs that are directly involved in producing your solution. So you can think of the direct labor, the direct materials, etc. that's involved in producing your solution. And this gross margin is what goes to pay for your fixed costs like the lighting and the utilities, as well as directly goes to pay for the profits of your organization. So the earnings before interest, taxes, and amortization. I mean, that comes from having a solid gross margin. So what I want to do in this video is give you 11 strategies to consider, to look at across your books to figure out how you can increase your gross margin. Okay, are you ready? Okay, it's all in the special report, so I hope you studied it, and let's go over it together right now. So first, assess how you can sell more of your existing solution to your existing market. So before we go any further looking at other opportunities, we should ask ourselves, what are we doing to sell our existing solution to our existing market? What does our marketing process look like? What does our sales process look like? How can we be more effective doing what we're already doing? So that's like a no-brainer. That's where we start from. The next question, how can you sell more of your existing solution to a new market segment? So a new group of people that you haven't targeted before. Who else could benefit from what you're doing, maybe through a slight positioning change, but ultimately it's the same solution that you can offer to another group of people, and therefore widen the amount that you're able to sell at a premium price point based on providing a premium offering. Number 3, assess how you can sell a different offer to your current market. Different offer, current market. So that means that you have a relationship with people who know you, like you, trust you, buy from you, and now what you're doing is you're selling them something else that they are interested in. That might be, and most likely should be, complementary to what you already are doing. Number 4, assess how you can sell a different offer to a different market. Okay, this is a little bit more tricky because you're changing two variables at the same time. It's a different market that requires that you have a clear understanding of their needs, and it's a different offer. So there's a little bit more risk in this factor, but it can certainly be used to increase your margins, particularly if you're holding to a premium price point for a premium offering. Notice I keep coming back to that. It's no fun to compete at the bottom with be a low price leader. You don't want to go over there. Better to be on the higher end of the spectrum if you can. Assess how you can charge a premium price by offering massive value. So that gets to exactly what I was just talking about. Instead of focusing on the bottom end of your market, focus on the top end. Why? It gives you so many more opportunities to be able to have higher quality processes and systems to serve your customer when you are catering to the top echelon of your market segment. So in order for you to command a premium price, you have to command and deliver massive value that the customer sees and acknowledges so that they're willing to pay that premium price. So my question to you is, what can you do to amp up the value you provide and target a customer set that's willing to pay a premium price point? Maybe for extra customized services from you, as one example. So now here's another question for you to think about. Assess how you can reduce the variable cost structure used for you to deliver your solution and therefore be more profitable. Remember I mentioned to you that the direct cost that goes into every dollar that you sell is called our variable cost, and the more that we can reduce that without reducing our quality, the more profitable you'll be through having a greater gross margin. Now you can also assess your margin per solution and focus on the solutions with the highest margin. So what I'm getting at here is when you take a look at a portfolio of products and services, you should be looking at the profitability of each one and focusing on the ones that are your most profitable options. Why? Because that's going to put more money into your bank account that can then be reinvested to continue to maintain your leadership in the marketplace. And it's going to give you more opportunities to continue to differentiate yourself because you'll have more money to work with ultimately. That implies you have visibility and understand your profitability per product within your portfolio. Assess your margin per segment. That's another key point, and deprioritize the segments that are less profitable and concentrate on the most profitable ones. So if you are providing a solution to multiple market segments that have many similarities, but at the same time one is much more, let's say, price conscious than another, and therefore you're not making as much traction in that one, focus on the segments where you are more profitable and there's a more natural fit between what you offer and what the market is looking for. So we have 3 more. Assess your profit maximizers that can increase transaction size. In a previous video we talked about transaction size. We talked about post and pre transaction upsells, and so those are really profit maximizers that you can look at. We talked about transaction frequency. Again, that's the next one. You want to be looking at how often are you communicating with your customers and making sure that you stay top of mind. And the last one is assessing your back-end marketing sequences. Because many times, and in many businesses that I have observed, there may be a marketing sequence on the front end, but once the customer has decided to make a purchase, there are no further back-end marketing sequences to sell complementary solutions that align with the first solution that was purchased. So you really want to make sure that you have an automated system in place which continues to provide loads and loads of value that, again, reaffirms that you're the right person to work with, you're the right company to work with, you have the right solution to work with, and that you have something highly compelling, differentiated, that can help your market get to where it wants to go. And your job as a product solution innovator is to continuously develop and have solutions that are complementary, that support each other, and helps your customer on their journey path. So the call to action in this video, it's been short, but there's a lot that you can do with this video, trust me. There's 11 key steps that I shared with you. It's all documented in the special report. What I'd like you to do is to share this video with your peers and your colleagues and take a look and sit around the table of figuring out how can you boost your gross margin by applying these ideas in your business. Because that's where the secret sauce is, guys. That's where the rubber hits the road. The more that you're able to apply from this teaching that I'm providing to you and helping you discover new ideas, the more you're going to get benefit out of this training, the more money you're going to make, the more you're going to serve your customers, and the better reputation you're going to develop in the marketplace. So there's a lot here that you can do, and I encourage you to put pen and paper together to start the brainstorming process, start prioritizing it. And with that, I'm going to see you in our next video where we're going to talk about the next dimension of profitability, and that has to do with cash flow. So stay tuned to our next video, and I'll see you then. Positive cash flow is critical to business survival. Hey everybody, this is Ray Stendel, publisher of Customer Engagement Magazine and the author of the Customer Engagement Manifesto. Hey, thanks so much for being with us through this video series. I really hope that you're getting a lot of value out of the special report and all of these videos that we've made for you. So far, we've covered quite a bit of ground. We've talked about customer acquisition in terms of how to acquire new customers, and now we are going through and talking about profitability. And right now, what we need to talk about is cash flow. Look, cash flow is king. You've heard that expression before, and it's so true. It's the lifeblood of your business. And without enough cash flow, you really can run into a lot of problems very, very quickly. So in this video, I want to talk to you about how we can eliminate cash drainage in your organization, because otherwise it's just going to suck up money like a Hoover vacuum cleaner, and that's going to spell a lot of trouble for you in your business. So one of the big things that comes to mind is no operating budgets. Let me ask you something, honestly, amigo to amigo. Do you have an operating budget for your business? And how closely are you mapping to your operating budget? Are you doing variance analysis to understand how far off of plan you really are? You need to be disciplined, you need to do it in order for you to make informed decisions. Number two, poor credit controls. If you do not have strong credit control in your organization, you're going to be paying extra fees, and you're going to be paying extra interest payments, and it's going to be a big drain on your money. The next one, ineffective debt collection. Do people owe you money? Perhaps lots of money over long periods of time? I have to tell you, a growing accounts receivable is a big problem affecting cash flow. So you really need to make sure that when people owe you money, that they pay based on the expectations that you set with them, and then you need to collect. Very, very important. So based on these ideas, I want to also now help you figure out how you can get your cash flow more under control. And it involves discipline, it involves visibility. So first of all, let's take a look at your income statement. On your income statement, I want you to do a vertical analysis. And basically what that means is you're going to take every expense on your income statement as a percentage of sales. And you're going to take a look at what those percentages are over time to get an idea of which expenses are getting bigger as a percentage of sales, which ones are staying the same, and which ones are getting smaller. The next thing I want you to do is to take a look at your cash expenses and working capital in relation to your monthly expenses. Getting a good understanding of cash expenses versus charges which are not cash is very important, and getting an idea of what your working capital looks like. Very, very important. And we can look at that based on our current assets and our current liabilities to gain an understanding of really what you're facing. Now we also need to make sure that you're keeping an eye open for waste. And I'll be the first one to tell you, let's focus on the top line, let's grow the business, but unless you are very good at making sure the money stays in your business, what's the point of generating it if you're just going to lose it? So you have to be very conscious of looking at your expenses and making sure that waste is minimized. I think you should take every month and every 3 months you should be taking a hard look at all your numbers and asking yourself, do you really need to be spending money in these areas or not? Refine the plan and take a look at it again back against your budget, back against your vertical analysis to stay on track. I also want you to take a look at all your current liabilities, and if you're able to stretch some of your payables in terms of how quickly you pay others, that is great, as long as you don't have to incur any penalties for you to do that. The longer it takes for you to pay your bills without incurring any financing charges, the more you will be able to stretch your dollars and be able to maximize the benefit, because ultimately you are taking advantage of payment terms that have been extended to you, and that can be in many cases close to interest-free money. So you want to take advantage of that. I want you to take a close look at your accounts receivables, a close look at your payables. I want you to look at how can you get smarter and more effective in collecting money from people that owe it to you. I recommend that you have a clear process, a clear escalation path, clear visibility, and that you have somebody in your organization very much target on this if you're a smaller organization. If you're a large organization, I know you have your teams of people working on this area. This is all very important, otherwise you're going to suffer from poor cash flow, and poor cash flow is the beginning of the end. So trust me on this, you need to make sure your operations are generating strong cash flow, and these are just some ideas that you can use to move forward. Of course, you should work with your accountant and get more of a forensic view into your numbers, and that will help as well. But this is a good starting point. So with that, take a look at these action items, make some progress, and I'll see you in our next video. Hey everybody, this is Ray Stendel, publisher of Customer Engagement Magazine and the author of the Customer Engagement Manifesto. Congratulations for getting this far into this video series. If you've been following along, you have the special report, you've gone through a sequence of videos to help you in acquiring customers. We've talked about profitability, and now the next aspect is all about customer retention. In order to retain customers, they have to be engaged. In order for us to have engaged customers, we have to have a work culture which is employee-centered so we can be customer-driven. So I have a special treat for you. A few months ago, we created a very special report all about looking at the customer experience, but also looking at the employee experience. And in this video series, we talk about engagement at the executive level. We talk about having the right work processes and systems in place for the employees. We talk about employee engagement. And then after that, we go and take a look at customer engagement and how can we really smooth out that process to ensure we have a frictionless a relationship with our customers. We're as close to frictionless as we can get so that they ultimately become advocates and continue to want to do business with us. So what I want to do with you now is take you into that sequence, share with you some more awesome information, lots of great content, actionable strategies and ideas, because I really want to give you as much as I can. And I think this video series is going to do the trick. It's going to help you out a lot. So let's jump into that first video, and I'll circle back with you towards the end of those videos and see what you think of the whole thing. All right, so let's roll into it now. The biggest question I get is, how do I go about transforming an organization that is not customer driven and is not employee centered? Stay tuned to this video series to find out exactly what you need to do to move in the right direction. Hello and welcome to the first video in this important series. In order for us to answer this question, how do you go about transforming an organization that is not customer driven and is not employee centered, we have to apply a certain basic approach or a framework. So one of the frameworks that I like to take a look at is, first, let's take a look at what the current assessment is of a typical organization that has these problems. Then we can take a look at where do we want to go, figure out the gap, prioritize the work, and get on with getting the project underway so that you can realize the benefits. So as part of our current assessment, what is it that we want to take a look at? First of all, we have to start at the top of an organization and take a look at the executive suite. Everything that executives do, it leads by behavior, and everybody else will follow this behavior throughout the whole organization. So we have to start at the executive suite. The second thing we need to take a look at is employee work processes. Don't worry, this is really quite interesting, and it's important that you understand these key points. The third key area has to do with looking at employee behavior themselves. What's the observations that we can draw from taking a look at them? Finally, we need to take a look at external customer interactions. All of these four components are really important. Without an employee-centered workforce, it's not possible to empower and engage customers who really want to stick around and be your customers for a very long time. So with that being said, let's jump in and take a look at the first key area, which is assessing executives. When we assess executives, it's very important that you have the executives on board in any organization, because if you are going to go about trying to be objective and taking a look at the executive suite, and the executives are very comfortable with the way things are operating right now, and they don't want to rock the boat, so to speak, you're not going to get very far. So step number one is having somebody in the executive suite, ideally a customer experience officer if you have one. If not, it really has to flow from the CEO downwards, who is committed to the idea of taking a serious look at how the business operates and how customers are treated. So the first thing that we need to take a look at is the attitudes, beliefs, character traits, and habits of the executive suite as it relates to how they work with the employees and ultimately how they work with customers. So the way I want you to remember this is ABCH: attitudes, beliefs, character traits, and habits. So one of the things that we need to consider when we look at each of these is, what attitudes does the executive suite have in relation to the employees? How do they regard employees? Are employees considered resources, interchangeable, movable, or are they considered as individuals that each have their various strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities for growth and opportunities to contribute to the bigger picture in an organization? It's important to understand how the executive suite sees the whole idea of interacting with a team and interacting with customers, being able to lead by example. What are their beliefs about how customers should be treated? But more important than attitudes, beliefs, and character traits, what are the actions that are being taken that speak so much louder than words, as demonstrated by the habits that the executive suite has? These are all critical things that need to be assessed and need to be looked at, because without really understanding how the top line management really thinks about the organization, thinks about empowerment, thinks about how to go about getting the most out of people, it's not possible to move forward. So you have to have this current baseline assessment. It's important to capture the voice of the executive. This is a term I've borrowed from the voice of the customer analysis. I'm applying it to the voice of the executive because the more we can understand about how executives think and what they do and how that is or is not congruent with what they say, the more we'll get to the root of how we can do a turnaround. The next key thing we want to take a look at is the leadership and the vision of the organization. I know what you're thinking. We've been through this before, right? Leadership is important. Well, it really is important. If you don't have a leadership team that is really committed to taking responsibility for the organization and for the interactions with customers and exhibits pride of being part of the organization and leading by example, how can you expect employees to lead by example, other employees, and ultimately to lead customers? Customers need to be led because we as executives in a company need to be able to demonstrate that we have industry experience and can help a customer through a collaborative, consultative approach to solving their needs. How do the executives, through their leadership, instill trust and empowerment in an organization? That's really a key question. Everybody talks about empowerment, but how is it actually being operationalized? This is a key question that I want you to think about in your organization. How do you go about leading by example and empowering the people that are on your team? One of the other things that you can consider is taking a look at 3 different types of moments of judgment. A moment of judgment occurs when somebody in the executive suite interacts with an employee or a customer and a perception is formed. We have 3 different types of perceptions that can be formed. One is a moment of pain. This is where an expectation has been let down. A customer expectation wasn't met, an employee expectation wasn't met, or an employee's expectation to another employee wasn't met. These moments of pain start to stack up, and as they start to stack up, it creates frustration and it creates a lot of issues that will come out over time. The next key area has to do with fantastic moments, moments that are differentiated because an employee felt special. An employee felt that they were heard, that they were valued, that they were acknowledged. And after all, isn't these feelings what all human beings want? They want to be acknowledged. We want to be heard. This is an important aspect for our leadership team to consider. So ask yourself, how does your leadership team go about acknowledging, listening, and following up with what the employees of the organization have to say? These are all key points to transitioning from an organization which is very policy focused to one that is employee centered. The last key point when we think about moments of judgment is the moment of indifference. The moment of indifference is one where really an employee doesn't really care one way or another what the top level management has to say as long as they essentially have a job. This moment of indifference means that you do not have the heart and soul of the employee with you to help you implement the vision that you have at hand. And what you do have is a body that clocks in and clocks out. Ultimately, this means you do not have an engaged workforce when everyone turns into being indifferent. So this is all relating to the whole topic of leadership. And I want you to consider, what are the key success drivers of your business? Many organizations try and improve on all facets of their business when really we cannot be great at everything. We have to be acceptable at everything, but we must focus on excelling at what's really critical to your business in moving yourself forward. So focus on those core competencies that you have. And in order for you to do that, you have to, of course, identify them. So the next question I have for you is, how well do you really know your employees? I mean, seriously, I'm not talking about knowing that you have an employee named Sally who is 35 years old and has been working for your organization for the last 5 years. I mean, what is Sally's career path? What are her motivators? What does she want out of her career and her position within this organization? How does she feel that she can best contribute? What is she passionate about? What are her values, beliefs, morals? Really understand who your employees are. Now, I know what you might be thinking. You might say, Ray, I'm part of a large organization and it's not really quite feasible and possible to get to know everybody. Well, to a certain extent, I can understand that. But for the people that you are in direct contact with on a very regular basis, and I would even say one level down from that, so that you are the manager once removed, you should have a very clear understanding of who you're working with. Now, let's suppose that you're in a very large organization, and let's say that you have 6 direct reports, and each direct report has 6 to 10 people. So you would say, well, that's 6 times 10, that's 60 people. Well, 60 people, you can get to know 60 people over the course of a year and understand who they are by making time to get to know them, to pay attention to them. And ultimately, by being able to understand these individuals at a level that is greater than just focusing in on the task at hand, you will start to build loyalty. You'll start to build loyalty because the employees will see you as being invested in their future. That's a key point. When employees feel that management is invested in their future and cares about their future, you will start to see that employees start to care about the vision that the executive staff wants to project onto an organization. Now, the next key piece that I want to share with you when we consider looking at the executive suite is how does the executive suite communicate? Communication is one of the most important skills any professional has. It is particularly important when we take a look at the executive suite. Every move, every word, every way in which an executive communicates is registered. It's registered based on looking at the body language, the tonality, the words that are used. It's registered to understand and make a judgment call if the executive is authentic, if the executive is transparent, and if the executive is somebody that can be trusted. So what I want you to do is to think about how you communicate with your team. Think about the different tools that you use and the frequency that you meet with your team, the tonality of your voice, and ultimately, how much do you really encourage feedback? Now I know what you're going to say. You're going to say that we have an open door policy here at our company, and that's great. However, I've been in many different organizations with open door policies, and the truth of the matter is, it's open as long as you don't really ask the really hard questions. Let me give you an example of a hard question that an employee should be empowered to ask. Here you go. An employee in an organization should be able to go to the CEO and ask a question like this. Mr. CEO, what is our plan to ensure that we architect a true frictionless customer engagement and a customer experience? How do we ensure that every aspect of how we engage with our employees and our customers is frictionless, such that we build loyalty both with customers and employees? See, that's a hard-hitting question. If you don't feel comfortable to ask that question to your executives team, then there is a challenge, because we say, or many organizations will say there's an open door policy, but you feel uncomfortable asking questions like that. Or perhaps you want to ask a question such as, how are we adding value in our sales and marketing process? Ask that question to an executive team member. And if you feel that these are hard questions to ask, it means that the organization is not as open as it should be. Organizations that are truly open are willing to entertain the hardest questions that can be asked, and not only entertain them, address them in a public forum. And you will be amazed at the transparency and authenticity that is communicated to the workforce, and how people will stick with you in good times and bad, because they know that they can trust the executive team. So this is one key area that I wanted to talk with you about, and that is, in any transformation to move to being employee-centered, to being customer-driven, we have to take a hard look at the executive team to make sure that this is truly a priority. And you'll find out very soon in a subsequent video, what do we need to do if it's not possible to have an alignment with an executive team that lives up to these expectations. So stay tuned to our next video, where we're going to talk about the next part of the series, and that is taking a look at employee work processes.